What up gamers, yesterday the Edge of Fate came out and I played through the entire campaign live on stream. Now I want to share some quick, spoiler-free thoughts on the expansion. What Bungie nailed, where they fell short, and what I'm excited for moving forward. So let's get into it. We're going to start with some positives. First of all, Lodi was amazing. I didn't really expect much from him going into the expansion. I wasn't too sure how he was going to fit in, but Bungie worked him into the story in a way that was both meaningful and surprisingly well done. The cutscenes, the visuals, of course, as always, were stunning. As you know from the trailer, they had those scenes based in the 60s. The quality in those were phenomenal, and that passed along to all of the visuals. As for the story, I really enjoyed it, honestly. I've only played the base campaign so far, but the groundwork that they've laid has me genuinely curious for what's to come. And I haven't played any of the side missions yet to learn more about these characters. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the season has in store. The new systems, matterspark, matterweave, and the relocator were all done very well. They were cool additions, and I like how they fit into some puzzles as well as encounters throughout the campaign, and I'm excited to see how they're potentially expanded upon. But we will also talk about them a little bit more later. The new exotic that you get at the beginning of the season pass or content pass is cracked. It is an exotic void energy scout rifle called the third iteration. The intrinsic for this is called Tri-Planar Mass Driver, I think I said that right, and the weapon fires a spread of projectiles, almost like a shotgun, but aiming down sights will narrow that spread. When you aim down sights, you will see the actual reticle get smaller and smaller until it turns into a triangle, at which point it is fully charged and will fire one powerful blast. Which brings me to the exotic perk, Amalgamation Rounds. With that, aiming down the sights for a short period without firing compresses the spread into a single high-density projectile, damaging a target with the shot marks them. And then this weapon does additional damage to any enemies that are marked. I was able to kill Hydras in 2 to 3 shots in the legendary campaign with this weapon. And if you kill a marked target or get a precision kill, you get true sight and invisibility. I'm telling you, I use this thing for most of the campaign. It is cracked. As for the campaign, it hit a nice balance. It wasn't too long, it wasn't too short. I know they were kind of moving away from the linear style, but they didn't stray too far from it. I will say it's maybe a little bit too long for repeat plays if you have multiple characters like I do, but you can just put it on normal and plow through it as fast as possible. But for a first time experience, it was great. And I gotta give props where props is due. The launch was smooth. Probably the smoothest Destiny has ever had. I got into a queue for maybe 15 seconds at the beginning. I was then kicked out later on because of my own internet, and I got right back in with no issues. And me personally, I had very minimal problems with getting booted or anything like that. Didn't seem to have any server issues. So like I said, you gotta give props where props is due. Bungie did great this time. Now let's get into some of the things that aren't so great, because obviously it's not all perfect. Because of scheduling issues or because of the strikes, I'm not 100% sure. Ikora's voice actor was not available at the time to record lines, so they subbed in the voice actor for Savathun. Unfortunately, this wasn't a Cade scenario where Nathan Fillion and Nolan North kind of sounded the same. This just sounded like Savathun talking. There were also some characters that just didn't have any voice lines at all and were replaced with like a Skyrim-like text box. Now, Bungie did tweet today that whatever was going on has been fixed and a bunch of lines have been recorded or re-recorded, including Ikora's by the original voice actor. So we will soon get things back to normal. And realistically, that's just minor. I did find that there were some weird performance issues. Myself, I usually average a little over 100 frames per second, and it got to a point where I was dipping to 40, 50 frames a second. I did notice that the game kind of reset itself to all maximum graphics settings, so I fixed that and it kind of smoothed things out, but even my friend with a 4090 was having issues getting far less frames than he usually would get. So hopefully that's something that they fix in the future. I had a huge issue with one of the missions, the one that unlocks matterweave. I had to run that mission 5 times before the chest actually spawned. It got to the point where I had to close the game, restart the game, and run it solo instead of with my duo partner because we just could not get the item to drop. Eventually it worked and we were able to progress, so that's okay, but that is definitely very frustrating. I will say Kepler is a really cool environment, but the map is a little bit misleading. When you open up the map, it looks huge. It looks like there's a ton of stuff to do. However, it is much smaller than you'd anticipate, which resulted in areas being reused multiple times for the campaign for different things. You would run into an area, do something, and then come back there 20 minutes later, and now it's a boss fight. So that felt a little bit repetitive and made Kepler feel much smaller than it probably should have. Now, this isn't really a spoiler, but Bungie teased that 1960s storyline in those trailers. The cinematics looked great, the theme was great, the music was great. I really wish that they just explored that a little bit more. They do talk about it, they touch on it a little bit, but it's not really a focus, and I wish that they would have put more into that. So I'm really hoping that more of that stuff comes back later in the year. Now, Matterspark. While it's a really cool mechanic, it felt clunky at times. I fell off the map more times than I would like to admit, and the camera spin when you use it is just unbelievable. It got to the point where I was getting dizzy. So hopefully they fix that soon. I don't know if it was intentional, but I've seen some people complaining about it. Speaking of Matterspark and those abilities, they leaned way too heavily on those. It didn't really feel like there was a lot of opportunity to explore Kepler naturally. I would say a good 30 to 40% of that campaign, you are utilizing those 3 abilities in some capacity, which is really cool, but it got a little bit too much. And then finally, one last very minor gripe, the legendary chest is gone. The chest was originally supposed to drop 200 power gear. However, Bungie came out and said that in order to be raid ready, you need to hit 100 power, which they said you're able to do no problem through playing the legendary campaign, so they removed that chest. But they removed it silently and didn't really say anything other than a tweet on the day of, which resulted in a lot of people deleting things as they were going, expecting that 200 power gear. However, I did finish the campaign at 136 power, so that checks out. But still, kind of a letdown, and really any communication would have been good, especially when those pop-ups, you get 50 of them at the start of the game, throw one in there. So in conclusion, that is the campaign done. The ending sets up some really exciting stuff for this new saga, so now I get to dive into the loot, the loadouts, the systems, and of course the new raid that comes out this weekend. Even with some bumps, I think Bungie did a phenomenal job with the release of Edge of Fate. Yes, Steam had its lowest numbers for day one ever, and of course Twitter's being Twitter. But when you actually play the game, it's clear that there's effort here, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now I just hope there's enough to keep us engaged between now and the next content drop. Anyways guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you like the campaign? Were there any standout moments? Are you running day one this weekend? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, thanks for watching. Drop a follow here for more content, over on Twitch for live streams, and I will catch you guys next time.